My name is Larry. I think most of you know who I am. I've been attending Grace here for a number of years, and I've had the chance in that time to lead 3 sessions of Financial Peace University. It's been fun, it's been challenging, it's been eye-opening, and the one thing in our Christian walk that God really drives home in the Bible is our money. It's our giving, it's our attitude towards giving, and he wants us to use our money wisely, but he also wants us to use it as a reflection of the heart and what our relationship is with him. So after a little arm twisting, I found out first of all about Bob and Karen Grumus's giving journey, and I actually sweet talked her and bribed her, and no, actually I didn't. I just talked to her about giving her story. I couldn't drag Bob up here. He wouldn't do this kind of thing, but so I asked Karen if I could ask her questions. Now, she knows the questions ahead of time. I didn't want to make her panic, but she was more than happy to allow me to interview her and encourage all of you to give if you are not, and if you are, to see how you can increase possibly. Because the church does not run on hope and a prayer, although that's a big part of it. We do need finances to keep operational around here. And right now, we are in a time where things are a little bit challenging. So, having said that, I will get moving here so we can let the guy who really knows how to talk get up here and do his thing.
Amen.
All right, Karen, when did in your life, when did you start having this idea to get into tithing or giving?
Well, I grew up in the Lutheran church, so I was a churchgoer, and we always gave, but tithing oh, but tithing, wasn't part of my giving. It had no definition to me. But when we moved to Lidditz, I was encouraged to go to Lidditz Grace Brethren, and there we were taught how to give. When I accepted Christ, 1980, 45 years ago, next month, I started reading the Bible. And I read and I read, and the more I read, more my heart was challenged. And then I came across a verse in Exodus 23:19, and it talked about the first fruits of the first fruits, talking about the harvest with the Israelites and how they should give. So I had to interpret, I guess, what that meant to me personally, because giving is a very personal thing. I was hesitant to talk about it because it is so private. Um, but to me, I'm thinking, what are my first fruits? And the best of the first fruits. And in our culture today, it was money.
Mhm.
God doesn't need our money, which you all know. He can have whatever he wants. What he wanted was my obedience. And that was a challenge because the last thing we want to give up is our money. We want control over our money. But the more I read, the more I was convicted that this was something we had to do. And it started small. This was 1980. I had just resigned a job. I was teaching at the time, and I gave that up because in less than 4 years, we had bought a home. We had 3 children. There were 5 of us on half of an income. And I'll tell you, we were giving $11 a week, and that was a challenge because we're very budgeted people, and every penny was budgeted.
Mhm.
And then I became convicted of how to give. I'm thinking this is an act of obedience. and faith and trust. So Bob and I talked about this many times, and this wasn't something that came quickly or without fear. But we decided, he said to me, "Can we afford to do this?" And I said, "No, we can't. There's no way." I mean, $11 was what we had. And one day I just told him that I was convicted. And could we challenge our thinking and our faith and our trust and our walk? And he said, "Let's try it." And we did it. And it was hard. It was very hard. But God is very faithful, and in many little ways, He improved our circumstances one by one, which was a challenge. I know the very first thing I can remember it still, 45 years later, Bob was given dental care for the family. And since we are on a budget, we had money budgeted for that. And that released a few dollars right there. And that's how it kept working. And it was amazing once we challenged ourselves to do that. It was through obedience.
And how did that feel?
Well, at first it was fearful. It was extremely fearful. But what increased was our faith and our trust in the Lord. I knew no matter what, the Lord would take care of us. I was afraid about, future things with the children. Um, our future as far as retirement was concerned because we had nothing. But here we are. We've got clothing, we got food, we eat every day. He's been very faithful to us, and our faith and our trust in the Lord increased with our obedience.
Did that draw you and Bob closer together and make it easier for general conversation and not just money, or
Oh, absolutely, because, we enjoy helping others,
Mhm.
and that increased. You we just trust and obey, whether it's just paying for somebody's dinner behind us, things like that. Um, and I think we drew closer together through it because this was two people working together. This wasn't one person's decision. This was both of us. And I think our faith just grew by leaps and bounds because our trust was there. We knew we were going to. I mean, you don't see it at first.
Mhm.
It takes time.
Shouldn't have given her a list, she wiped out 6 of my questions. So in an overall sense, how has giving impacted your faith when you go to God in prayer for other things other than just, get the budget, keep the budget?
Mhm.
Has that improved your faith walk in any way?
Well, our trust is there. That's what really, really increased. He was
Mhm,
so faithful, in so many little ways. These weren't big ways, these were little ways. Um, our hearts grew. Our our hearts and our minds where God was concerned. The more we read, the more we were convicted of this.
mhm. Have you advanced beyond the 10%? You
Oh,
don't have to give me a
yes.
number.
No,
Uh,
I won't.
um 'Cause I know there was a wealthy guy that I read about, he was a Christian, and his goal was to reach the 90%, 10% bracket,
Mhm.
where he gives 90% of his income, lives on the 10%.
Amazing.
Not even practical for most people to think about in this day and age, but, that was what his goal was, and I know my wife and I, we are above the 10%,
Yep.
bracket ourselves, and it's like, how? We're asking God, how'd this happen? It's just baby steps.
But that's it. baby steps, little things along the way. When you look back, you see them. And what was so fearful is when we read, we're reading about the 10th, that was our starting point.
Mhm.
And when you think of first fruits, we're talking about if you have $100, that's $10. That's before, this is where the fear comes in. That was before taxes. That was before health insurance, before retirement, any deductions that we had.
Mhm.
So after that, if you're talking about your net, that might be $6 that
Mhm.
we'd want to give. But we went for it, and it was a shock.
Yeah.
And even now, it grows. Each year is different. Like last year, I think Pastor Brad had put a call out to increase to erase our deficit at the end of the year. So that doesn't come out of our giving, that we have to increase our giving to do that.
Mhm.
The year before, there was a matching plan,
I remember that.
and we decided to give to that.
Mhm.
And the Lord just gives you enough to do that.
Yeah,
It's not
absolutely.
us, it's the Lord's doing it.
No, because he gives and he can take away just as
Oh, he
quickly.
can. We had a pastor, and he always said, "You keep your hands open so that the Lord can take things out and put things in."
Amen. Amen to that. So what would you say is the most profound change just in the general rhythm of your life, knowing that you can give, you can help people at a moment's notice?
Mhm.
Um, how has that impacted you?
Well, in just subtle ways. As I said before, I think the most important way was our faith and our trust in the Lord just has increased immensely. Um, we see how He's provided us with the means to help others when we didn't think we had anything. Even
Mhm.
now, sometimes we think, oh, can we do this? And we do it, no problem.
Mhm.
It's just no problem. But we trust that He's going to take care of us. We know He will take care of us.
Sure.
He's been faithful.
How would you encourage believers to expand their faith walk by giving or starting to give if they're not?
Well, I even used, I said something to Pastor Brad this week that a verse I ran across from James 2:17, that faith without action and obedience is considered dead. And that's kind of frightening if you analyze those words. You know, um,
Mhm.
what about my faith?
Is it active?
Yes,
That's a good point. Would you ever go back to a life without giving?
never,
Why?
never. And you give in so many different ways. You learn to give in so many different ways when you see there's a need.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a great story. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
You covered all the questions, some in lumps, some separately. That was great. I see now where she gets the gift of speaking from, or where he gets it from. You, passed it on down. Alright, so there it is. I think, I learned something. There's some details in there I didn't know. So if you're giving, great. I'm not here to twist anybody's arm. I'm not here to beat you across the forehead. I'm just saying it takes faith, it takes trust, and I remember the time when my wife looked at me and said, "We're never getting out of debt." We were given 10%, but she said, "We can't. We're stuck. We're too deep." Now that's 4 years behind us, and everything is just like I ask her sometimes, "Hey, can we give to this emergency or that person?" She's, "Don't even ask. Just give." She knows God's gonna replenish it, and it's gonna be all good.
I've come home with some pretty weird requests already.
Yeah, we have to be yeah, let's touch on that real quick. The just random giving is good, God knows where it's going, but we also have to be discerning
Yes.
on what we're doing.
Mhm.
So thank you, Karen.
Oh, you're welcome.